Today I'm gonna talking about nucleic acid. Nucleic acid is an organic moleculose, or it's a macromolecules. Well, why it's so important? Because it's the base of protein translation. Now, what's the structure of nucleic acid? Basically, it's polymers. Well, polymers made up of monomers. One monomer in nucleic acid is called nucleotide, and nucleotide made up of nucleoside and phosphor group. This picture explain the chemical formed of nucleic acid. Well, phosphor group made up of phosphate atom with 4 oxygen atoms. What about nucleoside? What's made up of? Well, nucleoside made up ribosugar and nitrogen base. First ribosugar made up of 5 carbon atom, there called 1' carbon atom, 2' carbon atom, 3' carbon atom, 4' carbon atom, and finally 5' carbon atom, 3 or 5' carbon. Bonding with phosphor group and 2' carbon atom make bond with nitrogen base. We found ribosugar in RNA and deoxyribosugar in DNA. Now, what's about nitrogen base? There are 2 types of nitrogen base. First, purine, such as cytosine and thymine, and uracil. Second is pyrimidines such as guanine and adenine. What's the difference between them? That purine is a single ring, has 4 carbon atom and 2 nitrogen atoms, but pyrimidine is 2 rings, one of them made up of 4 carbon atoms with 2 nitrogen atoms, and another has 2 nitrogen atoms with 3 carbon atoms. And in this picture there are the chemical formed of nitrogen bases. Well, there are 2 types of nucleic acid and there are many differences between them. First, DNA, and second type is RNA. First, I'm gonna talking about DNA. It's a double helix, and it's carrying genetic material. Basically, it's double chains. DNA has a sugar phospho backbone in the outside and bonds between nitrogen bases in the middle. Why DNA has this name? Well, D back to deoxyribosugar, because the sugar in the DNA is deoxygenated, and N back to nitrogen bases, and A back to acid. Well, DNA and RNA work together in cell to make protein. All living cell have DNA and RNA, no matter what's that prokaryotic cell or eukarya, mitozoa or protozoa. If it has one of them, like viruses, it's not alive. We can set that DNA carry genes from parents to sons or from generation to next generation. Well, a gene differ another gene by cascade of nitrogen bases, and RNA work with ribosomes to make protein. Well, what's the structure of sugar phospho backbone? It's made up of deoxyribose sugar and phosphor group. The bond between them is a covalent bond, and the nitrogen bases in DNA are cytosine, thymine, adenine and guanine. The bond between nitrogen bases is a hydrogen bond. Well, there are 2 hydrogen bonds between adenine and thymine, and there are 3 hydrogen bonds between cytosine and guanine. Well, in the outside we found phosphor group and deoxyribose sugar, and in the middle there are bridges between nitrogen bases. These bridges are the hydrogen bonds. The series in DNA are parallel to each other. Well, if first series 1, the top has 3' carbon atom from deoxyribose sugar, there i.e. 5' carbon atom against it in a second series. But if first series has 5' carbon atom, there is 3' carbon atom against it in another series. Also in the end of series, we have 3' carbon atom against to 5' carbon atom. It's so important because when there is 5' carbon, it's gonna be the end. Well, we cannot add nucleotide, but to 3' carbon atom we can. Now, as L talk, DNA is a double helix, but RNA is a single chain. Well, what's the structure of RNA? First, RNA is a nucleic acid. Well, it has the general characteristics. Well, it has a phosphor group attached to sugar, but in RNA is a ribose sugar, not deoxyribose sugar. The bond between them it also covalent bond. Then RNA has a nitrogen bases. The nitrogen bases in RNA is cytosine and guanine and uracil and adenine. There are not a hydrogen bonds between nitrogen bases in RNA because RNA is single chain. There are 3 types of RNA. First, RNA messenger, second, RNA ribosomes, and third is RNA transporter. What's the difference between them? First, RNA messenger is a copy of DNA. Second, RNA ribosomes and RNA transport work in ribosomes and help in protein synthesis. That's all about nucleic acid. Thanks for listening.